I knew the day was going to be a dumpster fire when the main server room hummed a low B flat instead of its usual C sharp. You spend 20 years listening to fans spin and hard drives grind, and you start to hear the music of catastrophe before the first ticket even hits the help desk. I was wrist deep in a rack mount, cable ties in my teeth, smelling like ozone and static electricity, when the door banged open. It wasn't the respectful knock of a user who locked themselves out of their email. It was the entitled slam of a pair of Italian loafers that cost more than my first car. Enter Chase, the owner's son, a man whose entire personality could be summed up by a crypto king bio and a hairline that was retreating faster than his father's ethics. And trailing behind him, clinging to his bicep like a decorative barnacle, was her. Let's call her Bambi. She was wearing enough beige linen to upholster a sofa in a dentist's waiting room and holding an iced matcha latte like it was a holy relic. Carol, Chase barked, his voice cracking mid-syllable. He was trying to project authority, but he sounded like a poodle barking at a garbage truck. We need to talk. Now. I slowly unspooled myself from the server rack, dusting off the gray lint that accumulates in these windowless dungeons. I didn't rush. If there's one thing I've learned in 2 decades of IT, it's that panic is for people who don't have backups. I looked at my watch. 10:14 a.m. My caffeine levels were critically low, and my patience was non-existent. Morning Chase, I said, my voice flat. Unless the building is on fire or your dad finally decided to switch us off Windows 7, I'm busy. The authentication bridge is acting like a moody teenager. Chase waved a hand dismissively, as if the backbone of the company's digital existence was a fly he could swat away. Forget the bridge. This is about vision, synergy, the aesthetic of the workplace. He gestured around my office, my sanctuary. It wasn't pretty. It was a utilitarian box filled with blinking lights, half-eaten bags of pretzels, and a wall of monitors that looked like the cockpit of a crashing spaceship. But it was mine. It was the nerve center. Bambi here, he paused, realizing he hadn't introduced her. I mean, Tiffany is joining the team as our new vibe curator. And she needs a space that reflects clarity. Vibe curator, I repeated, the taste of the words turning to ash in my mouth. Is that a position, or did we just run out of ways to waste money? It's crucial for morale, Tiffany piped up. Her voice was an auditory glitter bomb. And this room, it has the best feng shui. The lack of windows really grounds the energy. But all these buzzing boxes, they have to go. She pointed at the main server stack, the one running the payroll, the logistics database, and the client portal. I laughed. It was a dry, rusty sound. Those buzzing boxes are the reason your boyfriend can afford those loafers, sweetie. You unplug those, and the company stops existing in about 4 seconds. Chase stepped forward, puffed up like a bullfrog who found a steroid stash. That's the attitude I'm talking about, Carol. You're a relic, you're blocking the flow, we need fresh energy. Digital nomads, people who understand the cloud. I built the cloud you're using, I said, my eyes narrowing. I configured the VPNs while you were still failing Algebra Roman 2. And that's why this is going to be easy, Chase smirked, dropping the bomb. I'm letting you go, effective immediately. Tiffany needs the office by noon for meditation alignment. Pack your stuff. The silence that followed was heavy, thick with the smell of burning bridges. I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the arrogance of a man who has never had to reboot a router at 3 a.m. on a Sunday. I saw the stupidity of a boy playing with a loaded gun, thinking it was a water pistol. And then a strange calm washed over me. It was the icy clarity of a system purge. You're firing me? I asked, just to get it on the record. For cause? Or just because you want to turn the server room into a yoga studio? Restructuring, Chase said, using the corporate buzzword like a shield. We're pivoting to a managed service provider. Cheaper, faster, less. You. This is the part where most people would scream. They'd cry. They'd throw a monitor. But if you've been reading these stories for a while, and hey, if you're enjoying this train wreck, do me a solid and smash that upvote button or subscribe. It keeps the caffeine flowing and the rage pure. You know that the loudest scream is silence. Okay, I said. Chase blinked. Tiffany stopped chewing her eco-friendly straw. They were expecting a fight. They wanted the drama. They wanted me to be the hysterical middle-aged woman so they could justify their cruelty. Okay, Chase asked, suspicious. You're the boss, I shrugged. I reached over to my desk, picked up my battered leather satchel, and swept my personal effects into it. A framed photo of my cat, a stress ball shaped like a grenade, and a half-empty pack of nicotine gum. If you want me gone, I'm gone. I assume HR will mail my final check? Yeah, Chase stammered, clearly thrown off by the lack of resistance. Security will escort you out. No need, I said, slipping on my cardigan. It was a gray, shapeless thing, my armor of invisibility. I know the way. I installed the badge readers, remember? I walked past them. I could smell Tiffany's perfume, something floral and cloying like a funeral home in July. I paused at the door, a hand on the handle. The servers were humming behind me, that B-flat drone of impending doom. One tip, Chase, I said, looking back. Don't touch the blue cable or the red one. Actually, just don't touch anything. Good luck with the vibe. I walked out into the hallway, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. People looked up from their cubicles, Susan from accounting, Mike from logistics. They saw me walking out with my bag at 10:20 a.m. They saw the set of my jaw. They knew I didn't say goodbye. I didn't warn them. I just walked to the elevator, pressed the button, and waited. Chase thought he was cleaning house. He thought he was taking out the trash. He didn't realize he was pulling the pin on a grenade that I had been holding for 6 months. He wanted my office. He could have it. But he was about to find out that the office wasn't the room. The office was me, and I was leaving the building. The elevator dinged. I stepped in. The doors closed, sealing me off from the circus upstairs. I watched the numbers count down. 4, 3, 2, 1, lobby, freedom, but not quite yet. I had one more stop to make before the show started. The air outside smelled like exhaust fumes and freedom. I walked to my 2014 Subaru Outback. The one with the "my other car is a server rack" sticker peeling off the bumper, and threw my bag in the passenger seat. I didn't start the engine. Not yet. Instead, I pulled my phone out of my pocket and set it on the dashboard, propped up against a half-empty cup of Speedway coffee. I opened the stopwatch app. 0000. I hit start. Most people think IT is about fixing printers or resetting passwords for boomers who can't remember their dog's name. They don't see the invisible wires, precarious lattice of logic and permissions that keeps a company from dissolving into anarchy. Chase certainly didn't see it. He saw blinking lights and a room he could repaint sage green for Tiffany's Instagram stories. He didn't know about the incident 6 months ago. Let's rewind. The company had been hit by a ransomware attack that nearly nuked the entire database. It was a disaster. Russians, we think? Or maybe just a bored kid in a basement in New Jersey. Doesn't matter. They got in because the previous admin, a guy Chase hired because they played golf together, had left the admin password as password 123. The owner, Chase's dad, had come to me on his knees. Literally almost. He was sweating through his suit, begging me to fix it. "Carol, lock it down," he had said. "Make it impenetrable. I don't care what it costs. Just make sure nobody can get in unless they are supposed to be there." So I did. I rebuilt the authentication protocol from the ground up. I didn't use the standard off-the-shelf garbage. I wrote a custom handshake protocol. A paranoid, aggressive, trust-no-one system. I called it Cerberus. And because I'm not an idiot, and because I've been screwed over by corporate suits more times than I can count, I had a very specific clause inserted into my temporary contract for that rebuild. A contract Chase definitely hadn't read. Contract that was currently sitting in a fireproof box in my basement, not in the HR filing cabinet. I watched the stopwatch. 0432. By now, Chase would be moving Tiffany's yoga mat into the corner. He'd be unplugging things. He'd probably yank the Cat 6 cable labeled uplink because it clashed with the vibe. The system I built was designed to poll the network every 12 minutes. It checks for a heartbeat. Not a digital heartbeat, a specific, encrypted token that was tied to the active session of the senior systems coordinator. Me. If that token disappears, if the session is terminated without the proper offboarding sequence, a sequence that takes 2 hours and requires 3 different passwords and a physical key, Cerberus assumes the worst. It assumes a hostile takeover. It assumes the admin has been compromised or removed by force. And Cerberus doesn't negotiate. Cerberus bites. 0715. I lit a cigarette. I don't even smoke that much anymore, mostly just when I'm drinking or when I'm watching a disaster unfold. But today felt like a Marlboro day. I cracked the window and let the smoke curl out into the damp air. I could see the office window from here, 3rd floor. I saw a silhouette moving near the blinds. Chase, probably high-fiving himself for taking charge. He had no idea that the servers behind him were currently running a countdown of their own. You see, when Chase fired me, he didn't just tell me to leave. He called HR. HR, being the efficient little drones they are, would have immediately marked my status as terminated in the payroll system. And here's the kicker. I integrated the payroll status into the security protocol. The moment my status flipped to terminated in the database, Cerberus woke up, saw the discrepancy. Admin is gone, no handover protocol initiated. Threat level midnight, 0945. My phone sat silent. The silence was delicious. It was the calm before the scream. I imagined what was happening inside. Susan in accounting was probably trying to save a spreadsheet. Mike in logistics was scanning a barcode for a shipment of HVAC units going to Cleveland. The receptionists were fielding calls. 11 o'clock, 1 minute left. I took a long drag. The nicotine hit my bloodstream like a reassuring pat on the back. "You did good, Carol," I whispered to myself. "You did exactly what they paid you to do. You secured the system. I wasn't malicious. I wasn't a hacker. I was a stickler for rules. And the rules of the system were simple. If the pilot jumps out of the plane without putting it on autopilot, the plane locks the controls to prevent a crash. Or in this case, crashes the plane into the mountain to prevent the cargo from being stolen." 11:58, 11:59, 12 o'clock, on the dot, my phone screen lit up. The ringtone wasn't my usual marimba. It was the specific jarring alarm I had assigned to work emergency. The name on the screen, Chase, do not answer. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. I picked it up, put it on speaker, and set it back on the dashboard. I didn't say hello, I just waited. Carol, it wasn't a word, it was a shriek. A primal noise of a man who has just looked into the abyss and saw the abyss flipping him off. Carol, what the heck did you do? I smiled. It was a small, tight smile. The kind of smile you see on a crocodile right before it rolls. I'm no longer an employee, Chase, I said, my voice smooth as silk. Please direct all inquiries to the help desk. Oh wait, you fired the help desk. The screen? He screamed. All the screens, they're red. And there's a giant eye. Why is the server asking for a retina scan? I leaned back in my seat, watching the smoke drift towards the windshield. A retina scan? I asked, feigning mild surprise. Oh right, that. Why is IT asking for an eye? Chase screamed again. I could hear the background noise now, a cacophony of confusion. Phones ringing unanswered, people shouting what happened to my screen. The distinct beep 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 of uninterruptible power supplies kicking in because the system had severed the grid connection to protect the hardware. It's not just an eye, Chase, I said, picking a piece of lint off my leggings. It's a biometric authentication request. High-level security protocol. I installed it after the Russian hack. Remember, your dad insisted. I don't care about Russia. He yelled. I can't log in. Tiffany can't log in. Was trying to check her Pinterest and the computer locked her out. Tiffany doesn't have a security clearance, Chase. Why was she touching a network terminal? I asked, my voice dripping with faux concern. That's a violation of the acceptable use policy. The system interprets unauthorized users as intruders. Fix IT, he demanded. Come back up here and fix IT right now. I can't, I said. You fired me. I'm currently sitting in my car, unemployed, and technically, if I were to touch those servers now, I'd be committing corporate espionage. I don't look good in orange jumpsuits. I'll rehire you, just come up here. No, I said, it's not that simple. You see, the system has entered what we call fortress mode. It's a failsafe. When the primary admin, that's me, is terminated without the proper cryptographic handover keys, the system assumes the company has been compromised. It locks everything. The database, the email servers, warehouse inventory controls, the electronic door locks. The door locks. Chase's voice dropped an octave. It went from angry to scared. Yeah, the maglocks on the warehouse doors. They fail safe to lock to prevent inventory theft during a cyber attack. Are the guys in the warehouse okay? It might get a little stuffy in there without the ventilation running. You locked the warehouse guys in? I didn't do anything, Chase. You did. You fired the pilot mid-flight. The plane is just doing what it was programmed to do, crash safely. There was a silence on the line. Then I heard Tiffany in the background. Chase? My phone won't connect to the Wi-Fi and the coffee machine stopped working. Is this because of the bad vibes? I almost laughed. The coffee machine was EOT enabled. I had VLANed it to the same network segment as the printers for ease of management. Cerberus had killed that port too. No internet, no caffeine, no peace, Carol. Chase said, trying to sound reasonable, which for him meant lowering his voice to a menacing hiss. You are going to come up here, scan your eye, and unlock this system. Or I am calling the police. Call them, I challenged. Please. I'd love to explain to a deputy why you fired the only person who knows how to run your $1 million infrastructure because you wanted to turn the server room into a meditation lounge. But before you do that, you might want to look at the screen again. Why? Does it have a countdown timer? I heard him shuffling. Yeah, it says 59 minutes remaining. Right, that's the data purge failsafe. The what? If the biometric scan isn't provided within 60 minutes of a lockdown event, the system assumes the physical hardware is being stolen. It initiates a cryptographic wipe. It doesn't delete the data, Chase. It shreds it. It overwrites every hard drive with zeros. 7 times over. It turns your client database, your accounts receivable, and your dad's precious IP into digital confetti. You're lying, he whispered. Am I? I took a drag of my cigarette. You know how paranoid your dad is. He told me if we go down with secrets kept. I just followed orders. How do I stop it? You can't. Not without the retina of the senior systems coordinator. That's you, not anymore, according to HR. I'm just a disgruntled former employee. My retina is no longer authorized. Unless what? Unless I'm reinstated. But not just reinstated, Chase. I need to be onboarded. And since the system is locked, you can't process a new hire in the HR portal. So we're screwed? You're screwed, I corrected him. I'm going to go to Applebee's. I have a craving for their spin dip. It's cheap, salty, and terrible for me. Just like this job. Wait, Chase screamed. Don't hang up. You have 58 minutes, Chase. I suggest you call your father, or maybe Tiffany can manifest a password with her crystals. I hung up. I stared at the phone. My heart was hammering in my chest, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of the gamble. The data purge was a bluff, mostly. It wouldn't wipe everything, just the local encryption keys. The backups were safe. I wasn't a monster. But restoring from backups would take weeks. Weeks where they couldn't ship a single unit or bill a single client. The chaos I had unleashed was beautiful. It was a symphony of silence, but I knew Chase. He wouldn't call his dad yet. He was too proud. He would try to fix it himself. He would try to hack it. And that was exactly what I was counting on. I put the car in drive and pulled out of the parking lot, but I didn't go far. I drove to the strip mall across the street, parked in front of a Dollar Tree, and watched. It's amazing how much damage one man in a polo shirt can do. My phone started buzzing again, not Chase this time. It was Susan from accounting. I let it go to voicemail, then Mike from logistics, voicemail, then the general office line. They were realizing the scope of the rot. I reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was a copy of the contract I had signed 6 months ago. The Cerberus Protocol Agreement. Chase's dad, Mr. Henderson, was a tough old bastard. He built the company from a garage operation into a regional HVAC supplier. He respected grit, but he was getting old and he had a blind spot the size of Texas when it came to his idiot son. He knew Chase was incompetent. He knew it deep down. That's why, when the Russians hacked us, he didn't just ask me to fix it. He asked me to protect it. Carol, he'd said, swirling a glass of scotch in his office that smelled of rich mahogany and fear. I can't run this tech shit. Chase thinks he can, but he thinks blockchain is a type of jewelry. I need you to own it, legally. So we drafted this beauty. Clause 7.4, Identity Persistence. Access to the root-level administrative privileges is tied biometrically to the appointed systems coordinator. This linkage cannot be severed remotely or by administrative proxy. Clause 8.1, Termination Consequences. In the event of the coordinator's termination without a concurrent 30-day handover period, the system acknowledges a hostile vacancy. All operations cease until the vacancy is filled by a verified, bonded, and biometrically cleared successor. Clause 12, the idiot son clause, unofficially. Any attempt to bypass these protocols by unauthorized personnel, i.e., Chase trying to guess the password or hitting the server with a hammer, triggers a level 5 lockdown. I smoothed the paper out on the steering wheel. It was my insurance policy. It was my 401k of vengeance. 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. A known number. I answered this one. Who is this? I asked, munching on a pretzel I found in the center console. Is this Carol? A voice I didn't recognize. Young, male, nervous, depends. Who's asking? This is... Kevin. From Geek Squad Pro. I'm at the Henderson HQ. A Mr. Chase called us for an emergency unlock. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on a salt crystal. Chase had called the Geek Squad. He was trying to use a residential tech support service to crack a military-grade enterprise encryption. Kevin, I said, catching my breath. Run, excuse me. You're standing in front of a rack of Dell Power Edge servers running a custom Linux kernel with SC Linux in enforcing mode, aren't you? Yeah, it's asking for Retina scan. Kevin, listen to me closely. Do not touch the keyboard. Do not try to boot from a USB drive. If you trigger 3 failed authentication attempts, the Halon fire suppression system might just accidentally discharge. And Halon sucks the oxygen out of the room. You like breathing, Kevin. I do. Then pack up your little toolkit, tell Chase you don't have the clearance, and leave. Charge him for the service call, obviously, but get out. Okay, ma'am, thanks. Click. Chase was flailing. He was trying to bypass me. He thought tech was a commodity, something you could just buy at Best Buy. He didn't understand that context is everything. My phone pinged with a text from Chase. I know you're talking to them. Stop sabotaging me. I'm calling the lawyers. I texted back, read the contract your dad signed. Clause 8.1. Also, you have 38 minutes before the data purge. Tick-tock, I wasn't just being petty. I was teaching a lesson. In the HVAC world, if you don't maintain the furnace, the house burns down. In the IT world, if you don't respect the admin, the world stops turning. Chase had spent years treating me like the janitor. He treated the systems I built like magic boxes that just worked because he willed them to. He was about to learn that magic requires a magician, and he had just fired her. I started the car again. I needed to be somewhere specific for the next phase. I wasn't going to Applebee's. I was going to the one place I knew Chase wouldn't look, but where the real power resided. I was going to the golf course where Mr. Henderson played every Friday morning. Because while Chase was the boss, Mr. Henderson was the owner. And there's a big difference between the guy who signs the checks and the guy who built the bank. I pulled into the gravel lot of the Rolling Hills Country Club. It was a place that smelled of old money and fertilizer. I wasn't a member. My salary bracket was more municipal pool than private fairway, but I knew the bartender, a cynical guy named Rick who made a decent whiskey sour. I sat at the bar, keeping an eye on the 18th hole through the panoramic window. Mr. Henderson usually finished his round by 12:30. My phone was now vibrating constantly. It was vibrating so much it was slowly walking across the polished mahogany bar top. New voicemail, Mike from logistics. Carol, seriously, what is happening? The gate won't open. I have 3 semi-trucks full of copper piping idling on the highway. The drivers are pissed. The union rep is here. Chase is screaming at a keypad. Call me back. New voicemail, Susan from payroll. Carol? The direct deposit batch. It didn't go out. It says authorization revoked. If the guys don't get paid tomorrow, they're going to riot. Chase told me to write paper checks, but the printers are locked. Please, Carol. I sipped my drink. It was cold, sour, and perfect. The unraveling was happening faster than even I anticipated, you see. Modern business isn't just people and rooms, it's a nervous system. The inventory system talks to the shipping system. The shipping system talks to the invoicing system. The invoicing system talks to the bank. Chase had severed the brain stem. The body was thrashing. I unlocked my phone and checked the remote status of the network, not via the admin tools. I was locked out too, but via a public-facing status page I had set up for clients. Henderson HVAC systems, service unavailable. Error 503, administrator missing. It was public. The clients could see it. The vendors could see it. Chase called again. Carol, he was weeping now, actual tears. The trucks are blocking the highway. The police are there. They're fining us for obstructing traffic. That sounds expensive, I said, swirling the ice in my glass. Just tell me the password. I'll type it in. I'll do anything. There is no password, Chase. How many times do I have to explain binary logic to you? It's a biometric lock. It needs my eye, in front of the scanner, physically. Then come here, I'll pay you. I'll pay you double for the day. Double for the day, I laughed. Chase, you fired me. You severed my contract. If I come back, I'm not coming back as an employee. I'm coming back as an external crisis consultant. Fine, consultant, whatever. My consultant rate is different from my salary. I don't care how much. $5,000. For 1 hour, that's extortion. $5,000 to stop the data purge that happens in. I checked my watch. 22 minutes. And to unlock the warehouse so you don't get sued by the trucking union, and to make sure your payroll goes out so your 50 technicians don't walk off the job, seems like a bargain to me. You're a bitch, he spat. You're a man standing in a locked room with a fiancé who probably just realized she can't post a selfie because the Wi-Fi is down. Who's really losing here? I can't authorize 5,000, he whimpered. My spending limit is 2,000 without Dad's signature. There it was. The golden nugget of truth. Chase was playing CEO, but Daddy still held the checkbook. Well then, I said, watching a golf cart crest the hill on the 18th green. I guess you better find Dad. Oh, look at that. I think I see him. You're with him? Not yet, but I'm about to buy him a drink. I wonder how he'll feel when I tell him his fresh energy son just cost the company 100 grand in fines and lost productivity in under 2 hours. Carol, don't, please. He'll kill me. He won't kill you, Chase, but he might take away your office. And Tiffany's yoga mat. I hung up. Mr. Henderson walked into the clubhouse. He looked sunburnt and tired. Was wearing plaid pants that should have been illegal, but he wore them with the confidence of a man who owned the town. He spotted me at the bar. He frowned, confused. Carol, what the hell are you doing here? Shouldn't you be at the office? It's Friday, payroll day. I turned on my stool and gave him my best, tired smile. Hey, Bob, funny story. I actually have a lot of free time now. Can I buy you a scotch? We need to discuss a consulting agreement. His eyes narrowed. He looked at his phone, which he had presumably left in his locker during the game. He saw the missed calls. He saw the texts. He looked back at me. The realization dawned on him. The color drained from his face, leaving only the sunburn. What did that idiot do? Bob whispered. He tried to delete the sysadmin, I said, and the system fought back. Bob Henderson didn't scream. He didn't throw his clubs. He just sat down on the bar stool next to me, heavy and old, like a sack of wet concrete. He signaled Rick for a double Glenfiddich, neat. Start from the beginning, he said, and don't give me the tech speak. Give me the how much is this going to cost me version. I laid it out. Chase wanted my office for Tiffany. He fired me at 10:15. He didn't initiate the offboarding protocol. He just told me to leave. The Cerberus system detected a hostile removal of the primary admin. It locked down everything. Warehouse, servers, payroll, HVAC controls. Bob closed his eyes and pinched the bridge of his nose. And the Retina scan? The only way to unlock it is with the biometrics of the last authorized admin. That's me, or we wait for the system to purge the local keys in. I checked my watch again. 18 minutes, at which point you're looking at a full rebuild. Weeks of downtime. Regulatory fines for losing customer data. Potential lawsuits from the union for the lockout. Bob took a long drink. He finished the glass in one go. He fired you. For Tiffany, the girl who thinks Wi-Fi is a type of chakra. She wanted better feng shui, Bob. He groaned. It was a deep tectonic rumble of disappointment. I knew he was soft. I didn't know he was suicidal. His phone rang. It was Chase. Bob stared at the screen for a long moment, his thumb hovering over the red button. Then he answered, putting it on speaker. Dad, thank God, you have to come back. The alarms are going off, the fire alarm. And the intruder alarm, it's loud. Tiffany is crying in the bathroom. Chase, Bob said. His voice was dangerously quiet. Shut up. Silence on the other end. Is Carol with you? Chase squeaked. She is, and she tells me you fired her. I was restructuring. She was negative energy. She didn't fit the vision. The vision? Bob roared, slamming his empty glass onto the bar. The sound echoed through the quiet clubhouse. Vision involves shipping HVAC units to paying customers, you moron. Not turning my headquarters into a daycare for influencers. Do you have any idea what you've done? You've violated the union contract. You've violated our insurance compliance. You've probably violated federal labor laws. I can fix it. You can't fix a light bulb, Chase. Put me on speaker to the room. Is anyone else there? Susan is here. And Mike. Good, listen to me. You are to step away from the computer. You are to sit in the corner and touch nothing. If you touch so much as a stapler, I will write you out of the will. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Bob hung up. He turned to me. He looked 10 years older than he had 5 minutes ago. Okay, Carol, you win. You want your job back. It's yours. 10% raise. I'll give you a bigger office. Hell, I'll build you a bunker where Tiffany can't find you. I shook my head. No, Bob. Don't want my job back. He blinked. What, Carol? Don't do this to me. I can't run those servers. I don't want to be an employee anymore, I said, leaning in. Employees get fired because their office has good lighting. Employees are expendable. I want to be a contractor. An independent consultant, retainer-based, non-revocable for 12 months, triple my previous hourly rate. Bob stared at me. He did the math in his head. It was expensive, very expensive. And I added, I want a clause that says I report directly to you. Chase is not allowed to speak to me, email me, or look at me. If he needs IT support, he submits a ticket like everyone else. Bob looked at his watch. 15 minutes until the data purge. You're holding a gun to my head, Carol. No, Bob. Chase put the gun to your head. I'm just the only one who knows how to put the safety back on. He sighed, defeated but respectful, pulled a napkin from the bar dispenser and took a gold pen from his pocket. Write it down, he said. We'll formalize it with legal on Monday. But for now, this napkin is binding. I wrote quickly, consulting agreement. Carol Danvers, consultant, VS Henderson HVAC, client. Rate $350/HR, retainer $10K/mo, full autonomy. I slid the napkin to him. He signed it, Robert Henderson, CEO. Done, he said. Now, can we please go save my company? One more thing, I said, standing up and smoothing my cardigan. What? I'm driving my own car, and I'm stopping for a pack of Marlboros on the way. You can explain to Chase why he's not allowed in the server room anymore. Bob smirked. A tired, grim smirk. I'll do better than that. I'm going to explain to Chase why he's going to be working in the warehouse loading dock for the next 6 months. We walked out to the parking lot. Sky was still gray. The air was still cold. But the smell of burning bridges had been replaced by the sweet scent of total, absolute victory. But the show wasn't over. I still had to walk back into that building, and I intended to make an entrance. Driving back to the office, I felt a shift. When I left, I was Carol from IT, the woman in the gray cardigan who people only noticed when the printer jammed. Now, I was a line item on the budget that cost more than a Lexus. I pulled up to the front gate. It was locked, obviously. A line of cars and delivery trucks snaked down the road. Drivers were standing outside their cabs, smoking and cursing. I rolled down my window as I approached the gate intercom. Identify, the robotic voice of Cerberus barked. I leaned out. Admin override. Voice print, Alpha Zulu Tango 9. There was a pause, the camera word focusing on my face. Identity confirmed. Welcome back, administrator. The heavy steel gates groaned and began to slide open. The truck drivers cheered sarcastically. I drove through, Bob's Mercedes right behind me. We parked in the executive lot. I didn't rush. I walked to the trunk, got my bag, which I had just packed 2 hours ago, and slung it over my shoulder. Walking into the lobby was like walking into a riot in a library. The emergency lights were strobing, a slow, pulsing red that gave everyone a demonic cast. The audible alarm had been silenced, probably by someone smashing the speaker, but the tension was screaming. Employees were huddled in groups. No one was working because no one could work. When they saw me, the chatter stopped. It rippled through the room. Carol's back, thank God. Is she with the old man? Bob marched ahead, his face a mask of fury. I walked a step behind, calm, cool, collected. We reached the 3rd floor, the executive suite, the door to my old office. One Chase had claimed was open. Tiffany was sitting on a yoga ball. Where did she even get that in 2 hours? Sobbing into her phone. Chase was pacing, his hair messed up, sweat staining the armpits of his expensive shirt. When he saw Bob, he froze. When he saw me, he flinched. Dad, you're here? Look, it's a disaster. The system is glitching. I think it's a virus. Move, Bob said. He didn't shout. He just projected the command like a physical object. Chase scrambled out of the way. I walked into my office. It was a mess. They had already started moving things. My server rack had a tapestry draped over it. A tapestry. A mandala print meant to soften the electromagnetic waves. I ripped the tapestry off the rack with one swift motion, throwing it into the corner. Dust motes danced in the red emergency light. Don't, Tiffany gasped. That's handwoven. It's a fire hazard covering the intake fans of a $20,000 blade server, I said, not even looking at her. Get out. Excuse me? She bristled. You heard her, Bob said from the doorway. Get out. Both of you out of the room. Now. Chase grabbed Tiffany's arm and dragged her into the hallway. They stood there, watching through the glass like kids grounded from a birthday party. I sat down in my chair. It was still warm from where Tiffany had been sitting, or maybe she had put a candle on it. I looked at the main monitor. A giant red eye stared back at me. System lockdown. Time to data purge 000814. 8 minutes, cutting it close. Can you stop it? Bob asked, his voice tight. Of course, I said. But first I need you to confirm something. What? Chase doesn't have the new Wi-Fi password, right? Carol, for God's sake. Just checking. Security hygiene. I spun the chair around to face the console. This was it, the moment of truth. I wasn't just typing a password, I was performing a ritual. I reached into my bag and pulled out a small bottle of hand sanitizer. I cleaned my hands, then I leaned forward. Initiate biometric restore, I said clearly. The screen shifted. Scanning? I placed my chin on the rest. A beam of green light scanned my left eye, then my right. Identity confirmed, Carol Danvers. Status terminated. Error, admin is flagged as inactive. Bob gasped. It's not working. Relax, I said. It's confused because HR says I'm fired. I have to override the HR flag manually. I typed quickly. Sudo override auth HR status force equals true. Warning, this action will be logged and reported to the board. Let it report, I muttered. Enter reauthorization key. This was the part Chase would never have guessed. It wasn't a password, it was a phrase. A phrase I had hard-coded into the kernel. I typed, the best vibe is uptime. I hit enter. The red lights in the room stopped pulsing. They turned a steady, cool blue. The fans in the server rack roared to life, spinning up to full speed to cool down the overheated cores. On the screen, the countdown timer froze at 00:06:32, then it vanished. System restored. Lockdown lifted. Welcome back, Carol. I spun the chair around. Bob let out a breath that sounded like a tire deflating. It's done? He asked. The core is up, I said, but we're not done. Now comes the fun part. Fun part? Yeah, Chase messed up the routing tables when he yanked the cables. I have to rebuild the network map, and I'm going to need quiet. I looked at Chase through the glass. He looked like a kicked puppy. Tell him to go home, Bob, I said. Tell him to take his vibe and go home. Bob nodded. He walked out into the hallway. I couldn't hear what he said, but I saw Chase flinch. I saw Tiffany start crying again, and then I saw them walk away towards the elevator. I turned back to my screens. I wasn't just rebuilding the network, I was fortifying it. I was adding a new layer of security. Because if there's one thing I learned today, it's that the biggest threat to any system isn't a Russian hacker. It's an owner's son with a vision. And next time, I might just let the timer run out. By 2:00 p.m., the office had returned to a semblance of normalcy, which is to say, everyone was frantically trying to catch up on 4 hours of lost work while pretending they hadn't just witnessed a corporate patricide. I sat in my office, with the door open. I wanted them to see me. I wanted them to know the dragon was back in its cave and the gold was safe. Bob came back in around 2:15 with a fresh cup of coffee. He placed it on my desk. It wasn't the sludge from the break room. It was a Starbucks cup. Peace offering, he grunted, sinking into the guest chair, which I had wiped down with disinfectant wipes to remove the lingering essence of Tiffany. Thanks, I said, taking a sip. So where's the boy wonder? Sent him home, Bob said, staring at the floor. He's on administrative leave. Indefinitely. Tiffany broke up with him in the parking lot, by the way. Said his aura was too chaotic for her brand. I snorted, you can't make this shit up. Carol, Bob looked at me seriously. We need to talk about the future. The board is asking questions. They saw the service unavailable page. They know we were dead in the water. Tell them it was a scheduled stress test of the disaster recovery protocols, I said easily, typing a command to reindex the SQL database. Tell them we passed with flying colors. We identified a single point of failure, human error in the executive chain, and mitigated it. Human error in the executive chain, Bob chuckled darkly. That's a nice way of saying my son is an idiot. Corporate speak is my second language, Bob. But here's the thing, Bob leaned forward. This can't happen again. I can't have the whole company rely on one person's retina. What if you get hit by a bus? What if you actually quit? I stopped typing. This was the leverage point. That's a valid concern, I said. The system is designed to be paranoid, but it's also designed to be transferable. The problem today wasn't the system, it was the process. Chase tried to bypass the handover, so how do we fix it? We don't fix the system, I said. We fix the hierarchy. You make me CIO, Chief Information Officer. Bob raised an eyebrow. CIO. That's a board-level position. I know. It means Chase can't fire me. It means only the board can fire me. And since the board cares about profits and I'm the only one who can keep the profits flowing, I'm safe. And so is your data. Bob thought about it. He looked at the server rack, humming contentedly in the corner. He looked at the consultant napkin still in his pocket. You're shaking me down again, he said, but there was no anger in it, just respect. I'm securing the infrastructure, I corrected. Price of doing business. Fine, Bob stood up. I'll pitch it to the board on Monday. Acting CIO until then. But Carol, yeah, maybe. Tone down the death to all intruders protocols a little bit. The warehouse guys are terrified to use the bathroom. Fear is a great motivator for compliance, I smiled. But I'll see what I can do. Bob left. I watched him go. He was a good man mostly, just cursed with a bad legacy. I turned back to my screen. I had one last little script to run, a little thank you note for Chase for whenever he decided to log back into his personal email, which he foolishly ran through our Exchange server. I opened his user profile. I didn't delete it, that would be petty. Instead, I set a rigorous password policy for his account. Password expires every 24 hours. Minimum length, 30 characters. Must contain uppercase, lowercase, symbol, number, and a hieroglyph. Good luck remembering that, Chase, I whispered. I leaned back in my chair. The B-flat hum of the servers was music to my ears. The office was ugly. The carpet was gray. The air was stale, but it was mine. And nobody, not a vibe curator, not a nepotism baby, not a board of directors, was going to take it from me. I checked my phone. A text from my mom, the Bible thumper mentioned in the prompt. Let's weave her in for a second. Mom, I saw on Facebook that you got fired, praying for your soul. Maybe this is a sign to find a husband. I typed back me, actually mom, I just got promoted and I gave myself a raise, buying a new car tomorrow, praise be. I put the phone down, work was done, the system was green, the enemy was vanquished, it was 4:55 p.m., time to go home. I walked out of the building at 5 o'clock p.m. sharp. The sun had already set, plunging the parking lot into darkness, but the security lights hummed with a reassuring buzz. My Subaru was waiting. I didn't feel elation. I felt the heavy, satisfied exhaustion of a soldier who just held the line against a zombie horde. As I drove out of the gate, I saw a car parked on the shoulder. A red convertible, Chase's car. He was sitting in the driver's seat, staring at the building. Tiffany was gone. He looked small. I slowed down as I passed him. I rolled down the window. He looked at me. His eyes were red. You ruined my life, he said. His voice was raspy. I didn't do anything, Chase, I said, lighting a fresh Marlboro. I just let you press the buttons. You're the one who crashed the system. I'll get you back, he muttered. I'll tell Dad you rigged it. He knows, I said. He doesn't care because I keep the lights on. And you? You just dim them. I blew smoke into the cold air. By the way, I added, I saw you trying to access the client list from your iPad in the parking lot just now. Trying to save face? Make some calls? He went pale. How did you? I see everything, Chase. The network extends to the parking lot. And because you tried to access confidential data while on administrative leave, the system just flagged your device. Flagged it? Yeah. It sent a remote wipe command. Standard protocol for compromised devices. Your iPad is probably resetting to factory settings right about now. In his lap, the screen of his tablet lit up white, then went black. He screamed, a sound of pure impotent frustration. He banged his hands on the steering wheel. Good luck, Chase, I said. You're gonna need it. I rolled up the window and drove away. I didn't go home immediately. I stopped at the liquor store, bought a bottle of the good stuff, single malt, peaty enough to strip paint. Then I stopped at the grocery store and bought a jar of extra spicy pickles. When I got home to my quiet, messy, glorious apartment, I didn't turn on the lights. I just sat in my recliner, the cat jumping into my lap. I poured a drink. I ate a pickle. I opened my laptop, my personal one, air-gapped from everything. I pulled up YouTube. Danny DeVito eating a hard-boiled egg asthma, I typed. Don't judge me, it's soothing. The sound of a small, angry man enjoying a simple pleasure. It reminds me that chaos can be contained. It can be consumed. I took a sip of the whiskey. It burned, a good burn. Chase was out. Bob was leashed. I was CIO, and my bank account was about to look very, very healthy. I wasn't a hero. I wasn't a villain. I was just the sysadmin, the janitor of the digital age. You can ignore me, you can mock me, you can try to fire me. But eventually your printer will jam. Eventually your password will expire. Eventually the server will hum in B-flat. And when that happens, you better hope you haven't pissed me off. I closed my eyes, listening to the crunch of eggshells and the silence of a system running perfectly. We're all healed. Note, if you enjoyed seeing corporate incompetence get wrecked by competence, drop an upvote and check your backups. Seriously, do it now. Thanks for watching, you cubicle warriors. Hit that subscribe button. Unless you're my old boss, then you're on your own. Revenge of the coffee pot strikes again.